In mid-October 2023 we met up to the north of Glasgow to be guided by Graham Coburn round a Strathblane gravel loop. We had a very healthy turnout of 16 gravellers out on what was a very fresh autumn morning. After a quick briefing from Graham, we set off. We had a fair wee bit of climbing to do in the first couple of miles on a mixture of road and gravel as we headed north and slightly west out of Strathblane, so we weren't long heating up. The route for today's ride was predominantly north out of Strathblane, up to the north side of Drimmen, where we turned and headed back south towards the Burn Creek Reservoir. It was a quite challenging day to film with two different makes of camera and one exposed to bright light and the other filming in the shade, so apologies for the exposure differences. It was a lovely sunny day and the trails were fairly dry with only the occasional puddle. Young Ailey showed off her bike handling skills here, making this quite technical section look easy. This section has a number of gates to negotiate and I managed to get through it without acting as a doorman, so well done to all those who did. The guys in the front were setting a decent wee pace and everyone seemed to be going well. At this point you get some lovely views looking west over Loch Lomond. If you're enjoying this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. Thanks. If you'd like to follow any of these routes, you can pick up the GPX files by following me on Strava at Douglas Gilligan RACC. This section's a pretty fast descent over some rather bumpy and loose stuff. Thankfully all my fillings were intact at the bottom, but only just. It's always nice to cycle through the dappled sunlight when you're in the trees, but it can also be a wee bit chilly at times when you're in the shade. I thought this would be a good opportunity to catch most of the group for the video, and 9 out of 15 wasn't too bad. There are bits and pieces of everything surface wise in this route, from single track to loose gravel and chunky stuff to tarmac, but if you're intending following it, don't forget your climbing legs. The Bull Terrier has been noticeable by his absence recently. He hasn't been out on his bike since our Ardgour adventure, and it was good to have him back out with us again. We then had a few wee sections of tarmac before we started our next gravel climb. I think this is the Ouija Wheeler crew who very courteously held the next couple of gates for us. Cheers lads. This was a quite tricky wee bumpy climb, but there were some nice views towards the top when it levelled out, affording another opportunity for Chris and Brian to get their cameras out. Every time I get gravellers waving at the cameras or the drone, it kinda puts my head into a bit of a spin. From the farm up to the reservoir is really quite a climb, and I reckon you must gain around 800 feet over a distance of about 9 miles, so it's pretty tough. At this bit I get a wee bit of PTSD because this was where Peter splashed me the last time, so I managed to get past Danny just in case he decided to try to repeat it. It was nice to see Donald and Ailey again, who joined us for the first time. We'd originally met up in Bourdoisan in the summer of 2022, and I remember being amazed at Ailey climbing Alpe d'Huez when she was only 9 years old. She was effortlessly showing us how it should be done on the climbs and was probably putting out about 10 watts per kilo. By this point my legs were feeling it, and it was really nice to get the drone up to get a wee rest. The problem is though that once I get the drone back down and pack it up, I have to chase back to catch up with everybody, and they've all now stopped to have a rest, so they're good to go by the time I get there. I'm not really expecting any sympathy, I know I won't get any, and I also know that this is definitely a first world problem. It was nice to see David and Brian out again, as it's been about a year or so. Was it something we said? Mike also returned after a brief hiatus, probably due to his house move, and you can always rely on Greg to up the average speed for the day. I always enjoy this wee section of the route, which is a few wee sharp digs, but it's kind of roller coaster like as you head along the top of the hill towards the Burnt Crooks Reservoir. Each one of the little sharp rollers was being felt by this point, and they seemed to be becoming more frequent. This was a change to our normal route, and Graham took us round the reservoir this time. We hadn't been this way before, and there were some challenging wee rollers on it. There was one in particular which was really tricky, very steep and technical, and well done to George, Chris and Greg, who all managed to pedal all the way up it. It's getting to the time of year when we book our annual snowboarding and skiing holiday, and there was some excited chat along those lines. When we topped out above the reservoir, we could see quite a squally looking rain shower off to the west, but thankfully that was the last we saw of it. As I said, having climbed a fair bit up to the reservoir, it was time to enjoy a quite long flowy descent down past the sawmill and on towards the cafe. Everyone was looking forward to a wee munchy break, and it was nice not to have to push on the pedals for a bit. The Soka Cafe is a great place to stop. They have a great selection of food and cakes, and their coffee's really nice. They've also done up this old bus, which is great for getting you out of the elements. Regardless of age, isn't it funny how all the troublemakers head for the back of the bus? As we were getting ready to leave, George showed us his track stand skills, and he held it for about a minute. After lunch, there's always a climb, and we headed up through the Kerbeth huts and along a few nice wee wooded tracks. With over 80% of the route done, we knew we were getting there, but Graham had a final trick up his sleeve. We then joined the West Highland Way, and the route became much bumpier as we passed the monument to the Craigallien fire, which can be seen just to the left of the screen here. This was recently erected to mark the spot, which meant so much to people around the time of the Great Depression in the 1930s. Graham the sadist then decided to include a short, sharp tarmac climb on our way back to Strathblane, which is affectionately known locally as the Khyber Pass. After the efforts we'd already put in, he could have stuck that choice right up his Khyber. Stu and I had to look lively on the brakes here as a dog decided to wander across my line. Kat was also rather excited as we were taking her surfing for the first time the next day. She did very well, and you're not going to believe this, but I made a video up of it. You should check it out. It was nice to see the car park, and I certainly found that to be a challenging route.
Brilliant, right, well done. Thanks for organising again.
You're welcome.
And a couple of wee additions on the end that kind of varied it up a wee bit, around the reservoir and then the Khyber Pass, which I'm not sure I was thanking you for that at the time.
Not your motorists got up it, we're doing it, weren't too happy either.
No, brilliant, I really enjoyed that, so thanks very much for organising.
I hope you've enjoyed it and it weren't too painful and hurting in the morning.
Stu and I rehydrated with a wee pint. Thanks to everyone who turned up on the day, and thanks to Graham for planning and leading the ride. And the ride by the numbers, we covered 36 lumpy miles with 3,500 feet of climbing.